Chris Cody, can you please give me again, because I cannot have it enough, give it to me again, the defeated, downtrodden Boston radio host.
All right.
Just tired of Miami callers playing Pitbull.
Okay.
It's bad enough that your team is just embarrassingly bad when it needs it the most, but you just keep getting infiltrated by these people who aren't even that clever, and it's just...
Okay.
I mean, but it's a special kind of hell, right? Your coach doesn't know what he's doing. You're about to give the Supermax to a player who doesn't seem to want to be there in Jaylen Brown, in Boston, in the city of Boston. Tatum, you're expecting a leap out of him. You had it in Game 7. He's holding up 5-0, and then Bill Simmons is weeping into the microphone. Why did you hold up the 5-0? Jimmy would never hold up the 5-0.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Good timing, Chris. And it's so it's 3-0, and you're a radio host in the middle of the night taking calls, and you were warned about this. You were warned.
That's wild. Like the fact that there's some sort of meeting before these shows are going on, like, hey guys, like there may be some little assholes going on there and playing Pitbull at some point to try to trick you. Like that's kind of crazy.
We were warned. We were warned about this potentially tonight. But thanks for the phone call. We appreciate it.
Well, they took care of him, but then they took care of Cortez, but Cortez's cousin. They didn't see that one coming. It's a changeup, man.
Okay.
They're ahead of the game.
And they definitely weren't ready for Megan from Boston.
Yeah.
They were not ready for her. Good thing she fell asleep.
Give me what you think of this, Izzy. Magic Johnson, who isn't very clever ever with the tweets, didn't think in 44 years, he's saying, of watching basketball, that he would ever see a Celtics team quit. And this was the general analysis. Let's get Charles Barkley and Shaq talking to Gabe Vincent on TNT after the game. A career high out of nowhere. Not playoff career high, 29 points. He's making shots from all over the building in a way that's just lunacy. The Heat, the worst shooting team in the league this year. Not one of the worst. The worst. From three, they were the fourth worst. Overall, the worst. They make shots from all over the place. And Charles and Shaq and Ernie are laughing at the Celtics.
You know, they're a really good team. They're a well-coached team. They got stars. They're not going to lay down. So, you know, we got to come in and handle business on Tuesday.
Yeah, clearly you didn't watch the game tonight. Yo, stop. Come well coached and don't lay down. Go look at the tape again.
Easy. He can't answer that.
You remember when Al Horford called that timeout in Game 1 for the Heat, right? Went on one knee and did that. I knew, especially after they came back in Game 1, that was going to come back to haunt him. And when I knew that this series was over, the Celtics were giving up effectively, was when Jimmy did that in response to Al Horford. And you saw Al's response, kind of walked up, kind of didn't really say anything, paused for a second. They didn't have a fight left. And I think I knew when it was done, when Grant Williams and Jimmy Butler were head-to-head, forehead to forehead, where were the Celtics coming to back up Grant Williams? And it reminded me of when Udonis took out Tyler Hansbrough in the 2012 playoffs, that team full of tough pacers. Where were they to get in Udonis' face? They weren't. And that's when Udonis knew they don't have any fight left. They're done. I'm going to miss the next game because I'm suspended, but that's all right because they're cooked. And I think when the Heat saw Grant Williams as the only tough guy left, and Grant Williams, Heat kind of player, not going to lie. Like, I think they would love to have him on their team. He's the only one with fight left. You kind of knew in Game 2 they were done.
It wasn't that no one came to his defense. It was Brogdon behind him looking terrified.
Yes.
There's a still shot of Brogdon just being like, oh, no, don't do this to Jimmy.
I think the rest of the Celtics were saying to themselves, why? Just play basketball. Why are you talking to Jimmy Butler? Just play hoops. There's no reason. Let your play do the talking. Don't say a word. Don't poke the bear. They did, and then Jimmy did what Jimmy does. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Just play
Jimmy
ball.
did what Jimmy does.
Just play ball.
When? How did this happen?
Don't poke the bear. You went like rat-a-tat-tat with sports cliches.
Oh,
It's real,
him.
though.
Yeah.
It's real. You remember when Dwayne and LeBron fake coughed on Dirk Nowitzki and that whole team behind him was just like, and they just went nuts and won a championship.
Let's talk about this David Aldridge tweet. And it's too bad that Mike Ryan isn't here today to eat some of this. I think he just overdosed on snorting the hub last night. I think he fell asleep as well, just waiting, just glowing in
More like he was up all night, and now he's asleep.
That's correct. That just glowing in the misery, because there is something, I'm telling you, Stugotz, I almost want the series to keep going just so that the misery can keep going, just so that I can keep consuming these particular tears. They care so much about basketball. They invented it. They've been surpassed by this franchise this century. They don't want to admit it, and they want all the things the Heat have. Do you know how much they would love a team of undrafted players?
Oh.
I mean,
Bingo.
most teams would.
Bingo.
You know?
They're saying that so much. You can have a nice drinking game every time they mention the undrafted players. And then, like, some Heat fans are getting offended by it. Some Heat fans are holding it up. It's like, are we allowed to talk about this?
These guys are vets at this point. Enough with the undrafted players thing. How about Jaylen Brown saying, you know, oh, Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent, you know, we should be able, those guys shouldn't be able to do this against us. How about they did it against you last year, too? You were Jimmy Butler 3 away from being eliminated last year and then got embarrassed in the finals.
But
this team owned them in 2020.
I think what you're hearing is a tinge of Chair Bear. It's a
Fart Bear.
It's a terrible take. What you're hearing is a tinge of jealousy from Celtic players saying, why can't our organization do what theirs does? That's what you're hearing.
They're soft. That's why.
It's jealousy. Why can't we develop players the way the Heat develop players?
I can't.
They're soft.
I can't do Jeremy. I can't do what Jeremy is doing right now. It's over for the Celtics as a franchise. Jalen and Tatum are
Correct.
over.
They have too many drafted players.
They're soft. You're defending with an overzealousness, as if they're offending you by pointing out the fact of, man, unusual that a team would have players that the basketball skill measurement thing didn't want any of them. Like, they get to pick the players. Everyone could have had all of them. Didn't want any of them. Like, you don't get to
Well, the Celtics cut some of them.
That's the other thing.
But that wasn't this year, right? Like, these guys have been doing this now for long enough.
We will get to whether they're veterans or undrafted veterans. Or, I mean, Draymond Green agrees with you. Excellent ally for you. Mad disrespectful, he says, to keep calling them undrafted free agents or undrafted players. But that's what they are, and it's super strange. And if you think that Jimmy and Pat Riley aren't going to have their legacies enhanced by the fact that they did it with this group, you're not paying attention to the fact that this right here might feel better than any of the Heat championships if they are actually able to get to the end of this. More than LeBron and Shaq and Wade. This has the possibility of feeling better than any of them.
No, you sound silly.
What? Billy, listen. Remember when they almost lost to the Celtics and everybody said, hey, they would have traded Chris Bosh, it would have broken it up, right? Last year, they lost to the Celtics. They didn't break it up. In fact, they got rid of the problem, PJ Tucker, and replaced him with Caleb Martin. But the idea of them sticking together and just continuing to build that. The things that Duncan Robinson did last night, he couldn't do in 2020. So these are all guys, they weren't just undrafted and smacked their ceiling and now they continue to get better. Like Gabe Vincent doing things that nobody on that Celtics roster, I mean, even Marcus Smart, if you asked him today, hey, take those same shots that Gabe is taking, he's not hitting them. And so these guys, yes, they were undrafted, but what that should speak to is just the ability of the Heat to stay with these guys, continue to build them because you know how Bam has no ceiling? None of these guys really have a ceiling yet.
Gabe Vincent, first player in NBA history to average 15 points per game on 60% from the field, 50% from three, 100% on free throws in an Eastern Conference Finals. Gabe Vincent.
If this team goes on and wins, it will be probably one of the worst teams to ever win an NBA championship, right?
Like, that's awesome for us.
No, but being completely honest with you. So when you go back and you see the championships that they won, LeBron winning his first title down here, everybody was rooting against the Heat. Everybody hated the Heat. Everybody hated LeBron. No one wanted to win. No one wanted them to win that. They failed the first season. So then the second season, it's like, is this going to be a failed experiment? You go to Game 7 in Boston where he had to have the performance that he had to even keep it going. Everyone was invested. This team, it's a great story, but like for the most part, people are like, It's fun that we're still here. We shouldn't have even come this far along.
Yeah, but Billy, those were expected titles. They were supposed to
weren't.
win titles.
They were very much in doubt.
Billy, those guys
They were
got up
favorites.
on Billy. They got up on the stage and said they were going to win 8. They won 2
Okay,
in 4
and they
years.
almost didn't even make
not
it to the
2.
finals
But they were
the second year.
but
I
they
know,
were
but
huge-
expectations are everything. So the expectations for this team were nothing. And here they are, 5 games away from winning an NBA title. LeBron, Wade, Bosh, they were expected to win it every year.
Which is why it felt so good when they actually did. Here, it's just like house money. Like, if you win, you win. Like, it's fun, but you're just watching Heat games in between Panthers games.
I mean, I think it's the most fun, to be honest. Like, as a sports fan, the 2 situations where I feel like you have the most fun is when you have a superstar that you didn't really know was going to be a superstar. You draft him and you kind of go through life with him or a sports career with him, and he kind of did that with Dwayne Wade. And then the unexpected run, not just, first or second round. I think the only time I can think about this is like maybe NCAA tournament, where you have these unexpected teams making it to the Final Four, maybe a championship game, but you don't see that in this situation.
You mean like Miami and FAU?
Yeah, like
But
Miami and FAU.
But if you lose, you won't really care that much, right? It'll all be like, this is all gravy. This is all like extra. You won't care that much if you lose because you weren't supposed to be here. If you would have lost that second season that LeBron was down here, you would have been crushed. You would have been questioning, what did we even do?
But what do you like better? Being on eggshells all the time and that fear of losing, or this house money
Yes,
feeling of
I
I
like
don't
to
care
feel
what
alive.
happens, this is
I
going to
like
be
feel
amazing.
alive.
fear
I
felt
feel like
good.
shit. Exactly.
I don't
right.
think anything more stunning has happened around here in 3 weeks of sports than Billy saying, "Yes, I love to feel fear." Like that. I mean, of all the weird shit happening around here, you embracing fear as a concept. When I say this one feels better, Billy, this is what I mean. Yes, those had horror in them, and I remember as people felt it saying, "This is fun, isn't it?" And the answer was, "No, it's terrible. This is all fun. There's no. They haven't trailed. They haven't trailed in a series.
It's almost too fun. Can I say that?
Too easy.
It's like, geez, this is supposed to be difficult. The other night when the Panthers are in overtime, I'm like, guys, we lose this game. We have to. You can't just keep winning all these games. But they do.
Jimmy Butler scored on Grant Williams and pointed at him for an extended period of time and did not get a technical because the referees were just like, oh, no.
That's after Gabe Vincent stood at the three-point line for like 15 seconds after hitting a 3 to force a timeout. It's all about Heat culture. This one's the representative. That's why.
I hate you. I hate you. Go sit in the penalty box.
What?
All right.